Recording. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming around to this part of our stream. I am here with the mighty Victor Botha, who plays the Death Trooper in Rogue One. The Death Trooper is one of the most amazing modern designs in Star Wars. It's become an absolutely iconic figure, and Victor Botha is one of the main dudes playing the Death Trooper in Rogue One. So warm welcome to Victor. Thank you so much, buddy, for coming on the show and participating with us in this new release.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, buddy. So I had a couple of questions for you. I've done a little bit of research. I'll be referring to my notes, and let's get into it. So it's my understanding that after school completed, you decided to go to the UK for a couple of years, and you decided to stay a little bit longer than you had planned. Just like let me know about that. How did that go?
Well, basically, I left school in 2001 in South Africa. At that time, there was a big influx of South Africans traveling overseas for we used to have like a working holiday visa, so you can get permission to travel to England, Australia, and that kind of stuff, and work and travel, get experience. My first job was working in a factory over here over in England. Did that. Worked in Scotland for a bit as a barman and waiter and stuff like that. And then after the 2-year point, my visa was going to run out, and I've always wanted to be a pilot. So
right.
And that's when I found out that you can join the British Army because we are part of the Commonwealth, and you can become a pilot, yes, a helicopter pilot. So I decided to do that.
Was that what you were doing? Were you piloting helicopters, or were you ground crew?
No,
or were you doing
I was. Yeah, so when you join as a soldier, ground soldier, you have to do infantry training first and all that kind of stuff, and then you go into your trade, which was ground crewman, and then from there on, when you get to the rank of corporal, you can apply to be a pilot. But unfortunately, when I got to the point of being corporal, I found out I was colorblind, so I couldn't be a pilot.
But for the military, there can't be any problems.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, I had when I did my medical in basic training. Well, before basic training, you have to do a medical, and there was a slight noise in my heart that was different, and I had to wait 6 months to go and get it checked out. And luckily, it wasn't anything. They thought it was like a heart murmur or something, but
right.
Yeah, luckily it wasn't anything, so I got to join the army.
Okay, cool. Right on. So, there was a question I wanted to ask you. So, going from South America or South Africa to the UK, like when we traveled and lived in Japan, it was astonishing. The cultural difference was really profound, and obviously, I mean, you have a very homogenous society. So it was really interesting adapting to living in Japan. Do you have any like interesting stories about adapting to life in the UK?
Well, it was at the beginning, yes. Because I grew up on a farm in South Africa, so I was in the middle of nowhere. I never had a McDonald's until I came to England, stuff like that. Yeah, so we hardly ever had any takeaway food. So it was like I was almost indulging when I first came to England.
Yeah.
The weekend after a night out in a club, you McDonald's first thing, So yeah, it was crazy. That's the kind of thing. But the lifestyle, the people, it's not that much different because we grew up very everything we saw on TV was American or English, in South Africa. So we grew up with all that kind of lifestyle, and so it wasn't that difficult. The people were nice and were quite similar to us. Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah.
Right on. That's excellent. Yeah, I can imagine how everything is like your first Big Mac
Yeah.
This is my first time doing this, my first time going to the club and stuff like that. Did you meet your wife, Ruth, in the UK, or did she come with you? Was she someone that you knew from South Africa, or?
No, I was in the army already for about 2 or 3 years. Yeah, and then I met her while I was in the army. Yeah, but
Oh, cool.
because she used to be a model, and she worked in South Africa 5 years prior to me meeting her, and she knew South Africans and everything. So yeah, that's kind of how we met. She
Oh, so
liked
you had like
South
a
Africa.
common background.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
She is English, but yeah, she knows about the South Africans.
Nice. So
Yeah.
she plays an important role in your getting the Death Trooper gig,
Yeah.
because and I was quite curious about this. So after you've completed your work as in the military, and so you were transitioning into a new kind of lifestyle, she's the one who signed you up for an acting agency based on the fact that you had years and years of military experience. And so how was she inspired to make that decision, like say, hey, why don't we sign you up as an actor?
Well, it was just blind luck, really. I was because when you leave the military, you get 6 months to do any courses and stuff like that to transition you into civilian life. And I did my courses in the first 2 or 3 months, and then I had 3 months of not doing anything. So I was looking for stuff to do, whatever, and that's when my wife decided to just sign me up as an extra or something like that to try and get some stuff. It's a new experience I've never had before. Tried it, and the first thing that came up was it was codename Los Alamos, actually. So I didn't have a clue what it was for. They just said come and meet at Pinewood Studios, and we'll tell you there further more about what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, so you head on over to Pinewood, and you discover that there's like, how many guys were there trying to get the same job as you were?
They were at that first interview. There was probably about maybe between 10 and 15. I would imagine. I can't remember exactly. Some military guys as well. It was still in the military, so they must have signed up for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then some other people were there for other roles as well, auditions. I still don't know what it was all about, but as soon as we went into the dressing room, the costumes room, as they call it, where all the dressers are, everyone went mad because they saw all the costumes there and the suits and the armor and the stormtrooper stuff, and everyone, oh no, it's Star Wars, it's Star Wars. Yeah, so then everyone just went crazy. And
so it's my understanding that I'm not sure, from watching other interviews that you were in, is my understanding that they came out, the dressing director or whomever it is, and said, hey, who wants to be first? And you were the guy who raised your hand.
Yeah, no, I've always been taught in the army, when you volunteer, you always put your hand up first and try and do everything first and get the experience or whatever. You never know what you're going to get into, but this time it was a lucky go. So I was basically the first one to put that Death Trooper costume on, the armor. Yeah.
And so when you went in there, your eyes light up. Everybody, I know that you weren't that, like, I know that Star Wars was kind of new, but obviously everybody knows about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you're trying on the suit. So it's my understanding that you had like a couple of people helping you out with that.
Yeah. So basically, you must. I don't know if you've ever seen the armor, the way it is put on and everything. So it's all in different parts. There's elastic bands everywhere, straps, Velcro. There's an undersuit that you have to put on first. It's almost like a boiler suit kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, that's all tied to your body. So at the first time we put it on, I think I was there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and it was about 2-3 guys helping you put everything on. And you can't put the stuff, as soon as you put the stuff on your legs, you can't bend your legs anymore properly. You can't bend your middle body and your abs properly anymore. So you're almost like a stick man, and that's why we had to go there and fit it on. to make sure it looked natural. Yeah.
Right. So while they're putting on this gear, like, are you thinking there's no way I'm going to do this job? This is too insane. Or like, because it was Star Wars, you're like, no, I'm locked in. I'm doing this. It doesn't matter how long I have to wear this costume.
I think that's where the military training came in, because we've gone through so many things, and as soon as you do something you don't like, you just carry on and don't give up. You just go through anything to finish the task. So I think when I put that costume and the kit on and the armor on and everything, that was me set for it, and I wasn't gonna turn back.
All right, cool. That's great. Yeah, I like that. I'm really curious. Did you have that approach towards life? Always raising your hand and always just going for it before your time in the military? Because I mean, it takes some nerve to leave where you're from and to put everything on the line and to go to another country and just live there, and you don't really know what the outcome is going to be. So were you always that kind of guy who would put your hand up and just go for it? Or is that something that the military kind of...
I think it's probably the military brought it out more. But when I finished school, I think that's the way. I think I got into it a bit more, but I was still a bit shy. But the military just brought it out a bit more, and it gives you more confidence. The military, so yeah, I think it's got to do probably 90% of it's from the military. You don't have a choice there. You just have to be like that.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It just takes a lot of nerve to build up and strengthen that part of your character, and I think it provides a lot of opportunities that otherwise people might miss if they didn't have that quality about them. One of the things I've learned about, I'm not sure if this is correct, is that after you're geared up and you've got the gig, all the pieces of the armor is tagged, so it's not going to leave the studio. Is that correct? Everything is tagged? That's
right. Yeah. So you can where all the costumes, armor, and everything is stored. You can't. It's got those machines. I don't know what you call them when you go into a clothing shop or something like that. So if you steal something and you take it out, it starts beeping and everything. So that's basically what it is in there. You can't take anything out without permission to go out. So that's the first thing people ask me normally at Comic-Cons and stuff. Did you take anything out with you? And I think it was impossible. There's security guards everywhere. You can't take anything. They're watching you 24/7.
Right. Sure.
So even with the Death Trooper, it was even worse because no one was allowed to see our kit, armor, or anything outside the studio. When we were walking from the tent where we got dressed and everything up into the actual studio, we were covered up. Our heads were covered up. Our helmets weren't on show. We were wearing cloaks to cover everything. Not even the people in the studio were allowed to see what the Death Trooper looked like.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I was wondering. I guess inside the studio, people can try to take pictures and that sort of thing to sort of leak. It's Star Wars, so everybody wants the big scoop. But I've also heard that on location, like if you're outdoors, there's drones and planes going overhead. Did you ever see any of that stuff?
So there was airplanes flying over all the time, taking pictures, and we had to once again cover ourselves up. As soon as they were coming up, we had to put cloaks on and everything. People, when we go to the studio and we go into the tent where we get changed and everything, we have to give our mobile phones back into the people over there, the assistants.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to have your phone all day, so maybe at lunchtime you can go and sign it out and go on and check messages, but during the day in the studios no one is allowed to have phones at all. So I think it got leaked from those people who were flying the airplanes over when we were on location on on the beach shoot that was Scarif, I think. It was
Right.
people flying over all the time. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So could you like hear them coming, or was it really
Oh
quiet?
yeah, they were flying
So
quite
high?
low. Yeah. So it wasn't actually there wasn't any drones. It was just like small two-seater airplanes. Yeah, that was coming
Oh,
over.
okay.
Yeah, and they can fly quite low, so you hear them coming. Yeah.
So, if you tell me a little bit about some of the locations that you had the opportunity that you were shooting in. Of course, there's some stuff done inside the studio and a
Yeah.
lot of beautiful shots outside. I know you weren't always very comfortable, but so where were some of the location shots you went to, and what was your experience like?
Well, obviously the first ones were in the studio, and I was already amazed by the work these guys were doing in the studios. And even now, when I look back at the carpentry stuff they were doing and building the sets, it's just amazing. The attention to detail and all that was crazy. So the studios were amazing. We were in one studio where Krennic was interrogating all the scientists there, and it was raining the whole time.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, so that scene was probably took a week to do, and we were there every single day getting soaked. And in the studio the rain isn't like outside, it's just like soft, nice and gentle rain falling. In the studio it's like spraying from sprayers from the ceiling and everything, so it's just like it gets into every crevice of you and it stays there all day.
Is it room temperature rain?
I guess so. Yeah, the temperature wasn't too bad. That wasn't bothered. But yeah, just having wet shoes and hands all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not nice, eh?
So was that scene that you were just referring to in Scarif? I remember that you mentioned there was a scene that used a type of explosive. Is that the scene that you were talking about?
Yeah. So that was there was a stage set up there, and while it was raining, obviously, and then the whole in between Krennic and the scientists, the floor was all made out of like polystyrene, so we couldn't walk over there, across there, or nothing, because all the effects and everything were underneath there with the explosions and everything. And then all of a sudden, the first time it went off, I must tell you, I literally like. But I was so scared. I never had an explosion like that other than in the army when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. It was mad. It was so loud, and I actually think me falling back, and it wasn't acting like falling back and all that, because it was
right.
real. Yeah, and everyone else said it afterwards. That was amazing. Yeah, because the reaction from everyone was so natural for something like that. Yeah,
it was quite unexpected.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did they have to do that more than once, or did they only have one crack at it?
They only had one take, and I don't think they actually, as far as I can remember, they weren't actually telling people when it was going to happen.
Right.
They were, they were practicing it the whole time, and then all of a sudden it just went off this one shoot, and that was it. Yeah.
Cool. Right on. I'm glad that you mentioned Krennic, because in some of your some of the things I've heard you mention before, you were basically pretty much wherever there was a Death Trooper and Krennic, you were in the scene with him.
Yeah. So
okay, cool.
when the first scene we did was one we walked into, I think it was the control room of the Death Star. I'm not completely sure, but where I spoke before, I had to walk up the stairs, and it was so dark. It's the first time I'm wearing the armor on the set and everything, and we had to follow him in, like on his left and right hand side. And it was so the first 2 or 3 times I tripped over the stairs because it was so dark. But yeah, everywhere he basically went, we were like his bodyguards, really.
Did you get did he? So I know everybody's got a job to do, and so it's pretty much, on set, it's mostly business. But did the actor, I forget his name, Ben Mendelsohn, I think.
That's right.
Did he have a chance to chat with you at all, or?
It's not like a one-to-one chat, but it's like Every now and again, maybe make a joke when something goes wrong on a scene or something like that, or But it wasn't really. But he's a real friendly guy. He makes jokes all the time. Smokes cigarettes like no tomorrow.
So he
But
was helping you kind of relax.
yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, so he was obviously he's a trained professional and he knows how it goes, and everything just seemed so natural to him. So it was really good, really good.
Well, that kind of brings up another question. Of course, you have all this traveling experience and you have all this military experience, but here you are on set, and there's some more instances I wanted to talk to you about where it's quite challenging to see, almost impossible to see. But how did you feel? You have a lot of life experience, but being on set must have been a challenge. I mean, did you feel any kind of nervousness, or you're like, oh my god,
No, definitely, yeah, definitely. You don't want to mess up, and you feel a bit starstruck when you're seeing all these other. Well, Ben Mendelsohn. I always forget the girl who plays the main role.
oh my god, yeah, I can't remember either. Don't worry, everybody knows, and
Yeah,
somebody will put it in the comment.
yeah. So you always get nervous when you're in a scene with them. But yeah, it's an experience, and sometimes you have to tell yourself don't stare or anything like that. But luckily you've got the helmet on, so you can stare as much as you want.
Right,
So,
right. There was
yes.
another incident that you've mentioned quite frequently, so I apologize to have to ask to bring it up yet again. But I found it to be quite. It was very impactful. So you talked about how there was a drop ship on Scarif, and
Yeah.
hopefully we have the ability to edit it into this, where there's the drop ship and the ramp lowers and the fan is behind you, and you're wearing this impossible costume in which you're trying to see. What were some of the problems with that?
The thing, yeah, we ran down this ramp, and it's almost like, I don't know if you know the Chinook helicopter. It's almost like that. So you're running down this ramp, but the ramp is like maybe 5 foot above the ground, 3 to 5 foot above the ground, and then you have to jump off. But with the visors and everything being, you can only see forward really, and you don't want to bend your head down looking like that, because that's just going to ruin a shot. You have to look forward, and you have to know when the end of the ramp is coming, so you don't just fall off and you actually jump off. The water wasn't that deep because it was all like man-made. Scarif, I don't know if I didn't tell you already, but Scarif was man-made on a ex-military, RAF, Royal Air Force Base, used to be in England, North London. So and they use it for a lot of scenes and movies now, like that Brad Pitt movie with the tanks and everything was shot there, and that kind of stuff. So it was a big, like a dam almost made. It was almost about knee deep of water, so we had to run through that. Running through the water at the beginning, it's just running through water, but when you do it about 200 times, it's not easy anymore. So we had to sprint through this water. The water was probably about 30 meters long, and then we had to do the beach assault onto Scarif, and that was tiring. I was lucky. I had the military training, like I said before, to never give up. You just keep going, because that stunt director was on us all the time. We had to try our best to look natural in this armor, not running like stickmen. So it was a challenge.
Yeah, a couple of things about that. If I recall correctly, you had like a military guy on set as well, who was sort of giving you some prompts and some hints about how to move around. Were they kind of there all the time, or were they just kind of there at the beginning of the day and then you never saw them again?
It's probably when we were in the studio, we didn't see him much, but when we were there on assault on Scarif, he was there all the time. He was the ex Royal Marine from the Navy, so he had a lot of experience. He knew what he was talking about and all that kind of stuff. So It was
Cool.
good having him there. Of course, only like 2 of us were ex-military guys, and then the other 4 guys were professionally trained stuntmen. So
Okay.
yeah, so they kind of knew what they were doing.
And you mentioned in the past that, like, from the beginning, after the first day, you're like just beat up and raw, and just the wearing the gear and having to move around in it, because as you said, you're just like a stick man, and it's really tight and you can't really move. And that from the beginning of the shooting to the end, the end, you'd gotten used to it, but by the beginning it was like quite rough. Is that correct?
Yeah, I must say, like, everywhere where you can dig in, where you have a joint in the armor or something like that, it would dig in, it would chafe you in the legs, behind the knees, everywhere. Even you couldn't sit down on a chair, it would hurt. And standing up would hurt as well. But like I said, when you at the end, you start to get used to it a little bit. And the thing is, you couldn't take it off. You put it on 6 o'clock in the morning, and the only thing you could take off was your helmet, just in case if the director calls Krennic to do a shot or a scene or something, you have to be ready to go in as soon as he goes in. So, that's why we have to have the armor on all day until like from 6 in the morning till 6 at night, just to be ready to go.
You mentioned that sorry to interrupt you.
No.
You mentioned that there were some days you were all geared up and you were never called.
Yeah, that's right. That's the worst days, when you just sit around and do nothing. But you're
So
there.
Are you able to read a book or something?
Yeah, we could read books and all that, because we were outside of the studio. So, sitting around not doing anything, I don't know. No one's ever complained about that, getting paid.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it wasn't too bad.
And what about if you're all geared up, do they say, okay, you've got like 1 bathroom trip a day and don't drink any water? I mean, what do they do?
You have to manage yourself, really. But to get one of the guys, the dressers, obviously, the costume guys, to take everything off and put it back on again, they will just huff and puff at you, and you'll know about it. So the less bathroom breaks you could do, the better for them. You don't want to get near bad sides.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that I'd heard about was that, so, you were in a lot of scenes with Krennic. You were in all the Krennic scenes. You were the first guy to put on the gear. And you and just one of the other Death Troopers, you guys are the main, you guys were the 2 that had your body scans done. So is this correct? So for like all of the merchandising and all of the toys and hot toys and sideshow statues and stuff like that, anything that was used as Star Wars or Rogue One merchandise and sold to collectors, there's a 50% chance that's your body scan that they used. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, like me and Rodney Tosh, the other guy, was ex-military as well. It was crazy for me as well, because I've never been in a studio like this. We'll have like 360 cameras all the way around you, and you have to do different poses. And you can see when I take the picture how it comes out on a computer. Now it's like a 3D shot and everything. So it blew my mind. It was really good. And then they told us that this is the photos and the shoots is getting done for the toys and everything. And then we were so upset that we weren't like credited in a movie for this kind of things. But
yeah, I was wondering about that.
And it just blew my mind that they wouldn't credit us in a movie as Death Troopers, And
oh, what? Your name did not appear in the credits?
No, not at all.
No
it's really bad. So yeah, I don't understand why that happened. So
yeah,
it was weird.
Yeah, that's I've never heard in all the research I did for this interview. I'd never heard that before, and I didn't know. I would have assumed. Wow.
Yeah, even when I wanted to put myself onto IMBD, I had to get because I couldn't prove that I was on the movie with my name being on a cast or anything, so I had to get pay slips and invoices and everything like that from being paid from them to prove that I was actually on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Huh.
No,
So
that's
yeah,
cool.
were your scans, do you know if your scan was used for the Battlefront 2 video game?
I imagine so, because there was no other scans done while me and Rodney were there. So, I guess that was it, because we had to do a lot of poses from of different stances and different, and movements, running, stuff like that. So, I would imagine that's what it was used for. Yeah.
Is that like a full day you're in there just
It
getting
was
scanned?
industry, yeah. So those days that was really quiet. We would be in there for like half an hour to an hour every time doing that. So we did that probably 3 or 4 times, just taking photos and posing. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
Right on. I had one more thing, one more question for you about the film itself, which is that I just wanted to make sure I had this right. I'm not sure, so guess I figured I would ask. So the actor Donnie Yen, I always get these names wrong. He plays Chirrut Imwe, basically the everybody knows him as the blind guy who's one with the Force, and the Force is one with him. As what I've learned, and I just wanted to know if this is accurate, is you're the guy on the beach who takes him out.
Yeah, that's right. So that's my one bad dark side thing I did. So yeah, it was really cool actually, because Gareth, the director,
Gareth
Gareth
Edwards.
Edwards, that's right. He
Yeah.
was there. I remember the day, because I got paid a little bit extra just because the director was there talking to me, directing me and everything. So he told me what to do, which direction to shoot and everything. So yeah, I was the one who shot him.
That's incredible. So
Yeah.
when you are in the shot, and because the gun is a prop, you're just kind of taking a guess on how much recoil the gun has, if any recoil at all.
Yeah, that's what it was funny, because we were all there shooting, giving a bit of recoil and all that, and making our own shooting noises. And you were expecting to, in the movie, see all. You don't know what you're going to hear when the movie comes out. So when the movie came out, it was actually quite cool to hear the proper noises our guns were making, and blasters and everything. So yeah, but it was funny.
The Death Troopers have this pretty cool communication sound design, but when you guys are shooting, you guys are not actually talking to each other.
No, nothing. So yeah, once again, loads of people ask about it, and the Comic Cons as well. But we didn't have a clue what sound we're going to be making, or communications, what it was going to be like, or nothing. So that was all added afterwards. Yeah.
Cool. Just a couple more questions, because I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No.
All right, cool. Right on. Were there any scenes? This is, because of what happened with some of the trailers, and the scenes in the trailers didn't show up in the film. It always happens where some scenes are shot, different takes that don't appear in the film itself. And do you have any recollection of any kind of cool scenes that were shot that you were like, that didn't make it?
Yeah, it was basically the last scene when everyone dies on Scarif, that beach assault we did. So once again, I can't remember the names of the guys, but the guy who had the big blaster that was from the rebellion, he had this big massive gun on his back, and it almost looked like a vacuum cleaner on the back of his back.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either.
He was running towards us, and the way we first shot it was we took one of us had a grenade, and we threw it towards him, and it actually it's like almost like a magnet grenade, so it got stuck onto him, and then he decided to just be like a kamikaze and run into us, towards us, and then blow us all up. And that's how it happened before. Yeah. And then,
but that was like, the film had a different outcome where he's at a distance, everybody's shooting him. I think, I can't remember.
Yeah, everyone shoots him, and then at the end, one Death Trooper falls down, and a grenade falls out of his hand, and it blows up. Yeah.
Ah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to watch the film last night before our discussion today, but I was a little bit under the weather and didn't get around to it. So just winding down, how did you feel? You get out of the military, you get this gig. How long was shooting? Like, how long were you doing the job?
Oh yeah, I think as far as I can remember, it was probably all together, on and off. Everything probably lasted about 2 months.
Okay.
Going to Iceland, because we went to Iceland for probably about 10 days. And we were shooting on that location on a ex-RAF military base for that was 10 days as well, and then the studios took up everything else. Yeah, really.
When you wrapped up, did they send you off with any parting gifts or anything like that, or it was just like, no, thanks for the job?
No, I think it's not. We're not really anything special, So I don't know what to expect really. Just even for a rap or something like that. So not getting anything was not anything bad for me really.
Right. Yeah, for sure. No, I was just curious. So you go from it being in the military to doing this work, and now you're in kind of like the center of this Star Wars space, which is completely new. So how was that for you?
It's crazy because, like I mentioned before, I've never seen a Star Wars film before I went on the movie. But then afterwards, I had to start watching the films with my son and everything, start from the beginning and work our way through the Star Wars universe and everything. So, because I never expected to go on to Comic-Con, so I just got asked by someone actually approached me and said, would I like to have an agent to organize some signings for me and everything. I said, oh, well, it's a bonus for me. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so I got into that as well. Obviously, when people come up to get some autographs, you have to know a little bit about something. So, yeah, I had to educate myself a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it just worked out that you are playing, one of the most iconic, recognizable characters in modern Star Wars. I mean, if you go, as I'm sure you've heard this a million times by now, Rogue One just kind of catapulted to many people's, favorite Star Wars film among them all. And
That's
here
right.
you are, plucked from the military and relative obscurity, and you're just made into one of these most captivating characters in the history of the Star Wars cinematic legacy, right? I mean, that's pretty strong stuff. So anybody would definitely, lots of people enjoy being in the orbit, getting as close as they can to Star Wars, whether it's through, just directors or designers or anything. Yeah. And of course, you're going to attract. I was so happy to have I was so excited, like I couldn't sleep at all last night. I was just so excited at the opportunity to just chat with you, because it just, it's such a rare, I don't want to say life-changing experience, but it kind of is.
A lot of people, I guess, would they think themselves special or something like that, being a character like this. In some regards, I probably am a little bit, but I'm still a normal person, and I will, anyone who wants to do something like this, I'm open for it, and I'll always be there to talk to guys. I enjoy it myself, so it's a bonus for me.
Did it bring a lot of attention from like your family and your friends? Because I'm guessing you, for the 2 months or maybe for a year, you weren't able to tell anybody, and then all of a sudden everybody discovered.
Yeah.
How did that go?
No, it was really good, because people in South Africa don't know a lot about Star Wars either. Really, I guess there is a lot of people who do know about it, but where I'm from, not a lot of people do. So I did appear in the newspapers in South Africa as well, and people out of the blue, people who used to be with me in school, emailed me or contacted me on Facebook and I can't believe it. We saw you in a newspaper over here, and how did it go? I couldn't believe what you had done and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, in my little hometown, I'm definitely a celebrity there.
Cool. Right on. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So where can people find you? People can find you on social media. I know that you're on Instagram, and that's V Botha Official Death Trooper. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So I've got I'm not exactly sure what my Facebook page's name is, but it's probably something on those lines as well. So I just search for Victor Botha on Facebook, and you'll find it. Yeah.
Cool.
And
right on.
When people want autographs and stuff like that, they normally contact me on there, and I'll send them photos out and so it's a good way because I haven't been overseas in a bit, so it's a good way to get autographs and photos signed and stuff like that. So
excellent. My last question for you is: have you ever gotten any calls from Disney to appear on any other shows? Maybe I know perhaps you're not allowed to say if you're appearing on the next season of Andor, but are you appearing on the next season of Andor?
No, not that I know of. So I don't think so. But I was hoping to get calls back, but it never happened. Apparently on Mandalorian, because I think some of it was done in America, and the Death Troopers on there, they invited people who had their own armor made and everything like that to actually come onto the Mandalorian. And I don't know, for me being ex-military and all that, I could notice that the guys that was there when I was actually watching the Mandalorian, they didn't look like real soldiers. No disrespect to them or anything, but I just thought we looked better, so I was hoping to get the call back.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Victor. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to chat with you. I know Nancy and I, for our signature series project, each signature series has a number. This is number 10. This is the 10th one that we've done. So this is going to be called Force 10. And the signature series is with myself and you. So I'm very excited at the opportunity to be able to work with you on the signature series project. Can I say signature series any more times? Anyway, we're really excited about it. I know that after hearing this, you were the first guy to wear the costume. You were in all the scenes with Krennic. You took out one of the most important rebels in the scene. Your body scan was used in all the collectibles and hot toys and merchandise. Victor Botha is the iconic Death Trooper figure. So I couldn't be more pleased, Nancy and I couldn't be more pleased to be working with you. And we're so grateful for you to take the time to sit down with us and share your thoughts and experiences. So thank you so much, Victor. Everybody definitely will put his information below about how you can get in touch with him for your own Death Trooper collectibles and memorabilia. I guess that's it, man. Any final thoughts, or we're good to go?
I'll just say thank you for you as well. It's been an awesome pleasure to be here. You were great, and I thank you for having such a nice, doing such a nice thing with the picture and everything. It looks really great, and I hope it goes well.
Me too, brother. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.